Inevitably, what happens if you can't get the right data or up-to-date data is you end up making decisions based on instinct, and unfortunately end up making incorrect decisions and not taking the right action at the right time because you're not looking at the right data.
Hello everyone and welcome to our very first podcast. I'm Nicci, Head of Marketing at Loop, and joining me today is our MD, Simon Porry. We're diving into a topic that's incredibly important and topical for the automotive industry right now: data management. We all know the industry is undergoing rapid transformation. Data is quickly becoming a key part of operations, from supply chains all the way through to customer experiences. I want to get your thoughts, Simon, on what challenges you are seeing automotive OEMs face today with their data management.
Hi, Nicci. Yeah, I think primarily it's just the fact that they have such a disparate data setup. So, one of the challenges in the automotive industry is they've got a lot of different providers interacting with different parts of the business. So you've got, one provider looking after your composite program, another provider looking after your customer satisfaction program, another one looking after your retention products such as service plans, extended warranties. Generally, all that reporting is provided very separately by those providers. Some of it may be in systems, some of it is in good old Excel. So if you're trying to kind of build up a picture as an OEM or indeed for the retailer network, the challenge is that it's the data spread around all over the place. It's not maintained in an automated way. So there's a lot of manual, inefficient processes going on in the background to make it happen.
Surely, with that happening, you would see challenges or impact to performance. What have you seen in the industry?
Anything which is maintained in a very manual way is obviously very long to do, much longer than it would be if it was done through an automated system or automated process. The audience that needs that data or the audience that's using it is spending a lot of time collating it or manually playing with it rather than actually acting upon the insights they're getting from the data. And I see that time after time when I speak to our customers is, they're frustrated at the fact that people aren't doing the jobs that they want them to be doing. They're basically in the weeds pulling data rather than using the data to improve performance.
And, that must take time, right? So if they're inputting all of this data, that must be slowing down decision making, or they must be surely using data that might also be out of date.
Yeah, absolutely. I think anybody that works with data will tell you that it's only good if it's up to date. So, if you're working with data that's even a few days old, unfortunately often a week old, a month old, clearly, you might be looking at a data set that's no longer relevant and something's changed significantly since then. Inevitably, what happens if you can't get the right data or up-to-date data is you end up making decisions based on instinct and unfortunately end up making incorrect decisions and not taking the right action at the right time because you're not looking at the right data.
And, Excel's a strategy tool. It's been around for ages, but I guess as organisations grow, clearly it's not going to be enough. Why do you think so many automotive OEMs or organisations are still clinging to using Excel? What are the limitations that we're seeing?
I think the reasons they're using it is because it's all they've got at the end of the day. I think, unfortunately, the challenge of moving away from Excel is seen as a significant jump. I think a lot of people, don't realise there's another solution out there, or they think that if there is a solution, it's very hard work to get away from what I'm doing currently, which is just making it happen in Excel and getting into a software platform. I think Excel is just an easy default mechanism where if you can't get what you want out of a platform or just using a platform, you just resort to Excel because everybody's got Excel on their PC, right? Everybody knows how to use it to varying degrees. So it's just an easy way out. The right way out is to invest the time to get away from Excel into a much more automated process because that process obviously brings many benefits.
Can you give some examples of what we've seen work effectively moving away from Excel and the change that we're seeing in the industry?
Excel, unfortunately, because it's driven by humans, it's inevitable that errors are going to creep in. Because it's difficult to maintain, it's very manual, it's impossible to keep it up to date consistently, so that's definitely a challenge. What we're talking about here is pushing out data to the people that need it. If you are one of our customers, you've got 10,000 users across a network of 250 retailers. That is a lot of people requiring a lot of different data sets that they expect to be accurate, up-to-date, usable 24/7. It's simply not possible to produce that using Excel. I don't want to knock Excel too much because it's clearly a great tool, but it's just not fit for purpose when you want to distribute the data around a network of that size. And as I say, unfortunately, what we see happening is because people can't get the data, they just take what they think is perhaps the best course of action or the best decision, but it's not a data-driven decision. It's based on instinct or what they've done historically, or it's just doing the same things day after day.
Simon, so looking ahead, what do you see as the future of data management for automotive OEMs? How can they start preparing now to stay ahead?
I think it's a number of things, Nicci. So it's streamlining all their data into one place. I think that's really important. At the moment, if I think about a typical customer, they've got a large number of KPIs they're measuring. Those KPIs, that data tends to be strewn around the organisation in lots of different places, different systems, Excel spreadsheets, essentially very hard to get hold of. And centralising that into one place is absolutely key in terms of making things more efficient, but also allowing them to kind of signpost their users, their network to issues. So rather than going to 17 different places, if I can see it all in one location and then essentially siphon off people to look at where the issues might be, that's absolutely key. And I think having everybody in the network looking at the same system, the same source of truth is absolutely key. Everybody's got to be looking at the same data set. One of the big issues with Excel, for example, is everybody tends to go off and create their own Excel report because they can't get hold of that data in one place. And then all of a sudden you've got different sources of the truth popping up all across the business. And then we've all been in a meeting where somebody mentions one figure and then somebody else has got a slightly different figure, and then the meeting becomes about who's got the right figure rather than about what are we doing about it. So that's absolutely key. And I think just as a kind of general point in terms of data management for OEMs going forward, I think collaboration with the retailers and working together around that data is absolutely key. I talk to lots of customers who have sort of cracked or think they've cracked the reporting because they've got some fantastic reporting at head office. Unfortunately, I think kind of the focus on distributing that insight to the people in the retailer network that actually need it, that tends to come second to kind of what happens at head office. And just to kind of emphasize that point, having everybody having access to that data so they can collaborate on it is really key. One of your biggest challenges as an OEM is that you've got this huge gulf between your high performers and your low performers. You want to look at what your high performers are doing and maybe introduce some of that best practice with your low performers. But it's all part of the same exercise of streamlining your data into one place, pointing all your retailers to the same place. And if you can pull multiple data sets from one location, compare all your retailers against each other very easily, it's just going to make it much easier to spot those weak areas and then put actions and sort of processes in place to reduce that dispersion.
It's embedding like a culture of data-driven decision-making and giving transparency across the board. Well, thanks for your time today, Simon. It's clearly this is a critical area that automotive OEMs are going to need to focus on to stay competitive in the future. And for our listeners, we hope you found this discussion valuable. If you have any questions or topics you'd like us to cover in the future episodes, let us know.